Evening all. Sorry for the brief delay. I had to retrieve myself some tea. It's very important to have tea on stream. We're going to do something a bit different this evening. We're going to have a live bug fixing session. We'll go through the bug tracker, cherry pick some bugs, and I'll run around in multiplayer with Claire, and we'll see if we can get rid of as many bugs as possible. Fingers crossed there's lots of them. Yes, Paul, it is indeed Earl Grey. Yes, indeed. Let the chaos commence. So, as usual, let's have a quick look at what I've been up to. No, RX. I think it's actually a limitation of the back end that we're using. It seems to be capped at 16, and nothing I do seems to be able to change it from 16. There is a pro version of the multiplayer subsystem we're using, and I'm going to upgrade to that probably after the demo. I don't want to rock the multiplayer boat now too much with a massive codebase change. So I'll have a look at that further down the line. Not all the modelling in Lassie, no. Most of it, but not all of it. I still haven't done the stairs yet. Let's go down to Mini-Me. So this is the F-deck outer maintenance tunnel ring, and I've put the railings back in. I've made some new floor plates for it. It's all properly segmented now. We have floors all throughout now. There used to be a door here, which led to the death drop. That has now just been patched over for now for the demo. But the character can run through here perfectly smoothly now with no hitching, which is nice. I do still need to move the lights because as you can see, they're not lined up with the bracing for the corridor. I'll also punch holes through here in some places where it makes sense, because like this is the inside of what will be a cargo hold. So there's no point having a hole through there. But further at this side, you can't really see it, but this is just structural ribbing around the underside of the ship. So we'll put some holes through there so you can actually see the detail. I've just lost the ship. Where is it? It's there somewhere. There it is. I need to do a floor piece here and the straight pieces here. But that should be quick and simple. It doesn't take too long to knock these panels out. I went for the slightly different design for the maintenance tunnels. So rather than having the bolt there like they are on these ones, so you can see we've got the bolts on the edge piece of the corridor, the floor plate. I've just gone with a single central bit with bolt holes in the corners, just to mix it up a bit, keep it all a bit different. You can see some weird normals there, so can we smooth them off? Needs to do a bit more work on that mesh to get rid of that sort of line in the normal response. But yeah, so most of this is now fully panelled, fully floored, and ready for release. Get rid of those bits. Yeah, so it's all coming together, and that's F-deck now. Well, looking pretty much on the way to being done. Obviously, not including the rooms we haven't started yet. Thank you, Festus. Yes, Ring 2 F-deck aft is now smooth as butter. You can run through it without even jumping. I did notice some bits that I need to redo. When I was doing the window panels here in the reactor room, I noticed that like some of these panels don't line up with the windows. So I'm in the process of redoing this. But it's all these little things now. I keep spotting little things, just little bits that don't line up that I just need to sort out. Like these pieces here don't extend all the way to the top, but it's just a case of just dragging that up. So there's nothing's particularly big now that needs doing. It's all just fiddly stuff. Yeah, I did those stairs already, so they're all right. Yeah, just little bits here and there, and it should all be done. Yeah, nav tutorial. I'm hoping it won't take too long. I mean, it's not a long tutorial anyway, and making the audio for it's actually quite simple. So it's just a case of just writing the dialogue and getting that done. I'm hoping no more than a couple of days. Yes, Anasi. So I'm just basically I put the camera in a set angle and then just started loading the levels up one by one and taking a screenshot of each one. I shall have a look, Festus. Not yet, Don. No, that's on my list of little fiddly things that need doing. What we'll start doing, probably next week, is we'll start doing just passes, top to bottom across the ship, and just picking out all these little things that still need tweaking. Claire, would you be so kind as to host a multiplayer game, please? Then I shall hop on. So the cooling fins idea for the batteries, I think, is a good one. We do have a bit of hull underneath, so this is sort of how much hull you're looking at. It's reasonably thick, but there's no reason why we couldn't create a fairly chunky heatsink under each of the battery arrays exposed to the vacuum of space. So they won't be out this far, but we can have them kind of there. So we can actually have a ring of heat sinks underneath. I want to make these battery racks kind of bigger and taller anyway. They look a bit pathetic at the moment. Actually, let's turn that on. Deck power. So my hope, Anasi, is that we can get it done and polished before PitCon and then released during PitCon, because it would be really cool to be able to announce that on stage. Because I'm going to be doing a talk on the Galaxy Gen and how we do the Galaxy within the game, and it would be really good to be able to at the end of that talk and just say, by the way, the demo update's now live, which would be quite cool. I can even make it live there and then. But yeah, so the idea behind these battery arrays is that obviously that isn't the array, that's just the caddy that it goes in. But we want the individual battery cells to be replaceable and repairable. So if one of those cells blows, we want you to be able to 3D print a replacement and then come along and swap it out. So they can't be too big because they kind of need to be carryable. But as it stands, these units are quite small and feeble for what is something that is powering the whole ship. So we'll probably make them much taller, probably all the way to the ceiling, with some form of removable component that you can come and replace. Maybe like a capacitor or something. But yeah, we'll have a look at what we can do with that. And then, as I say, underneath we could have heat dissipation right the way through outer hull, and have a ring of fins under the hull there for heat sinks, which is just another bit of detail on the outer hull, which translates through to the interior. And that's a big thing for me. I really like having like external detail relevant to something internally, so you haven't just got meaningless like greebles on the outside of the ship. They actually serve some purpose. They actually relate to something hardware wise. And when we do our naked render of the ship, which I'm quite looking forward to, I want to do a render which is all of the hardware, but the hardware only. So you'll have all the pipes, the cables, the engines, the reactor, all the little bits of hardware between, like the pumps and things, the battery arrays, the cabling for the battery arrays, and the attached heat sinks and things. And just render the ship only with that. It should look like a nervous system flying through space. It should look really cool. And I'll probably do that for the eventual tech manual. Thank you, Claire. No, we don't want to play orcs. We could just have a game of Orcs Must Die. It's a great game, by the way, if anyone hasn't played it. Yes, anything that generates heat will have external heat sinks. It's really good. Yeah, me and Claire love playing Orcs Must Die. It's just great. It's a great way of just, having a winding down and a bit of stress relief. Just murder some orcs. But yeah, the loading screen here is literally just me loading each layer of the ship, one after the other. Wow, Jesus. Looks like I've joined the USS party. Okay, so first major bug. The screens aren't on for me. Yes, Robert, we can add an audio control for those. That is the new loading screen, Manassi. Which loading screen were you expecting? Right, let's turn off the bridge hardware a minute and turn it back on again. See whether or not I get... Yeah, I do. Okay. So, the bridge hardware not being on for me when I join as a multiplayer client seems to be related to how it does that initial update tick. Ah, yes, that was the other issue as well. The background stars are static in space. Yeah, I think the multiplayer session opens up practically immediately, Scotty, and then if a client joins quicker than the host, then you can get into a situation where they'll be in the game fine because their client would have loaded the floors and everything, but when it comes to some of the electrical stuff, that doesn't get initiated until after the host has the galaxy generated. I've used that as my loading trigger. So once the galaxy is fully generated, that triggers everything else loading. And we're inside a star. I don't think they are on Essie. Hang on. No, that's accurate. That's how as it should be. You can tell because the storage tanks for the cryo fluids are at the front. Oh yeah, I need to go and give the E-deck wall screens the right cable. Keep forgetting to do that. Otherwise it lags like crazy trying to find its cables. Claire, are the background stars moving for you when the ship rotates? Not that I can see them. We actually would have had Claire on stream with us tonight, but conveniently her microphone doesn't work. Click the survey button, Scotty. Yeah, it's doing the survey. It's just not showing it on the UI. It's definitely showing it on the Holo display though. Yeah. Yeah, so what should be happening is the screen should be triggering basically just like a fake loading screen while it's doing it, and it's not for the client, but it should be easy enough to fix. So the stars rotate normally for you, do they, Claire? Yeah, if they weren't, it's really obvious. Because the fake background stars are basically static in place, and then the real stars that actually move are sliding around separately from them. That's just a replication issue. A lot of this is just replication issues, because multiplayer is nightmarish and horrible. I don't know why I put this game in multiplayer. Okay, so all the electrical stuff looks good. It's all good. So basically I'm just looking at the amperage on those 3 feeds. Goes up when I disable that 4th feed, and then goes back down afterwards as expected, which means that all of the electrical stuff is replicating properly as it should do. That's one thing I don't have to worry about. Claire, is it yellow alert for you right now? Yeah, it's a UK ship, 240 volts. Claire, do you have me muted? Ah, good. Is there a delay on the stream? It's the joys of open multiplayer, I'm afraid, Frederick. To be honest, we kind of need people to troll stuff when we're doing testing, because it really highlights what protections we need to put in place to be able to make that sort of thing impossible. Like I was sat on the toilet earlier thinking about this, as you do, and one of the things that occurred to me was that we need 3 codes. So we need an engineering override code for doors and engineering stuff. We need a security override code for things like doors. And then we need a command override code, which kind of overrides everything. So open any door, turn off any piece of hardware, etc., etc. So in the multiplayer host controls, we'll have 3 separate codes for various different things around the ship. And like with the doors, all 3 codes will work on a door, whereas in engineering, only the engineering and command code will work on an engineering item. So we'll give the host of the multiplayer game the power to lock down certain things, depending on who they trust with the code. Remind me, AJ, what was the bug? Yeah, if you try and steer with the autopilot on, it will immediately try and steer you back again. Okay, AJ, yeah. I haven't touched that bit of code, so no, it probably won't have been fixed yet. Yes, Paul, that's pretty much the last thing on my list, along with the maintenance tunnel stairs. Right, let's have a look at those stars. So live starfield is as it suggests, that's all the real stars. And then we have, make sure I've got the right layer on, space environment, that's that one. Right, that's the skybox, so that should have all the fake stars. And this is very much a temporary thing. So once we have a further view distance on stars in the galaxy that are real stars, then we'll get rid of the whole idea of having fake background stars. The only reason these fake stars are here is literally just to provide a bit of a backdrop for the real stars that are moving around. Otherwise it looks a bit flat. It just gives it a bit of depth. But that won't always be needed. So this does have a limited lifespan. But the question is, why is it not updating? Right, so that's what's driving the rotation. I think that should actually be ship rotation. Because some of these global events are multicast events, which go to clients, and some of them are not. Right, and then we just need to grab that, pop that in there, invert the rotator, and then we should be good to go. Yeah, so I think what's happening is that the current ship rotation is a replicated multicast, whereas the ship transform is an old bit of code which is not replicated. Let's just make sure that we're grabbing the rotation properly. Yes, so eventually the galactic disk will be volumetric, and then again there'll be more detail out there, so we won't need some of that depth detail to be static. Obviously the goal is for the whole thing to be completely dynamic. Not so much, Paul. It's more things within the ship being broken as opposed to what is movement sync issues. Doesn't help that I don't actually have the background stars on. So that particular node is replicating, I think, every 10 milliseconds, which is why it's kind of glitchy. Right, okay, we don't want to be using that one then. Because one of the considerations with managing replication is you want to keep the messages as limited as possible to preserve as much bandwidth as possible while still achieving what you need to achieve for gameplay purposes. So things like that, there's obviously something which is using the rotation but not required in real time. So it might be that the easier solution to this is to replicate that. Right, so setting up the global event for that. This is triggering an event on game state, which is sending that out as a multicast. Okay, we might actually be able to do that more quickly without breaking anything. So right now the function's firing every 10 milliseconds. But what we can actually do, if we do that, then that's firing at 30 FPS. Just see how that looks a minute. The target marker disappearing when you're very close to something was by design, because we didn't want the marker like getting in the way of the planet or whatever. But I think yes, that can actually be an inconvenience. We do have buttons to remove the markers, so it's perhaps better to retain the marker on the planet. I think I'm probably too close to Earth for it to come up there. Yeah, so maintain the marker and then have it just turn it off, if you want to take a screenshot or whatever. Yeah, there we go. So that fixes the stars in the background. The stuff that's moving outside of the ship is essentially updating at 30 FPS. So, like right now, the rotation's updating at 30 FPS, as does the ship movement. So, if we engage the FTL, all of the stars and the ship's movement itself is all happening at 30 FPS. So, whilst you might be running the game a lot quicker than that, that's how fast it's updating movement and such. I'm planning to increase that to 60 FPS, but we'll have to see how well that runs. Right now we're not seeing true performance because all of those error messages are various bits of hardware on EDEC trying to find their electrical cable, and it actually doesn't get all actors of class. Normally it just does it once during startup, which doesn't affect gameplay, but because it's doing it over and over during runtime, that's causing hitching. So it's difficult to see true performance with it all hitching like that, but it looks alright otherwise. I'm going to call that one fixed. Actually, no, one other quick test, because the Holo display uses that, so let's just load that up a sec. So one of our global events would be sector location, ship rotation. There we go. So ship rotates, and we update that. Right, so the only thing we're actually doing at 30 FPS is updating the orientation of the ship indicator on the Holo display, which is fine. So that's not going to kill us. Now the question is, do we have that raised as a bug already? Apologies for blinding everyone. Wow, that's just typical, isn't it? I don't think that was ever actually raised as a bug. It's quite unsatisfying when you fix something and there isn't a ticket to close. Right, what's the next one then? Right, so that wasn't updating on the scan, was it? So long range scan. I need to make sure that we are hiding the UI, or at least updating the UI. It should be better now, Anasi. The stutter you had when flying through space, so there was always a little hitch every 1 light year. That is better than it was. It's still there a little bit, but it's better than it was. Similarly, entering a system should be better. I don't think it's fixed completely, but it's better. Thank you, Kaji. What was I doing? Right, yeah, this panel here. Right, so when a scan is initiated, where is it? Nope, not that one. Not that one, not that one. Is it on here? Okay, so I imagine the audio component there is only firing for the client because none of this is doing anything in a replicated sense. So we are setting that as scanning. We're we're setting that as initiate survey. We're then updating the UI with our replicated variable. Okay. Then our action message is long range initiate survey. Long initiate survey. Long initiate survey. So that fires this collapsed graph. Right, so the question is, how far does it get? I don't seem to have everyone's names either. I think that's been a bit of a long-running issue, actually, not having every player name represented. Right, so we initiate survey. What's happening on there? So it's updating the target. It's updating the Holo display. It hasn't updated the text there to say scanning. Oh, you know what it is? It's people sat in chairs. Because I couldn't see ODST's name until he got up. Okay. Another bug to add to the list. Right, so I'm assuming that now that I'm stood up, my name's visible. Exactly what's happening. Yeah, the label you see within the system is a different label to the one that's rendered outside of a star system. So essentially when you're within a star system, if the coordinates of the distance label is equal to that of the system you're in, it will not display the distance label. Instead, it will display the local version of the label. So I think what's happening is that it's not replicating the local version, it's only replicating the distance version, so anything above half a light year. Yeah, that's a weird one because it's the same actor. There's nothing different about these chairs. Yeah, you're still clothed, Scotty. That looks healthy. Perhaps we need an upper limit on how fast a chair can spin. Yeah, we're not going to have escape pods, we're going to have lifeboats. Like a real naval vessel. I've never been a fan of the single-person space coffins. Yeah, I think the losing of the clothing is a random thing. Because the way the chairs work is it's displaying a copy of you sat in the chair when you interact with the chair. What it should be doing is attaching your pawn to the chair, so it's still you, but we're having to do a copy of it because we were having problems with the legs. So basically the characters weren't sitting properly in the chairs, and when you move the chair around, the foot locking was locking the legs to the floor and it was looking really weird. So it was easier to do a static version of the character sat in the chair and then hide your pawn within the game. But that's just a temporary solution. Once we get the pawn sat properly in the chair, then that will no longer be needed. Right, so why is that not firing? Yeah, the whole character system is a mess, and we went with ALS because it was kind of the popular character system back in the day, and we've always used ALS pretty much from way back in the Stage 9 days, but it's not really fit for purpose for what we want to use it for. So there are more modern and better solutions these days. So we'll go with a proper motion matching system at some point. I have a developer I need to have a conversation with who is building systems based on the new motion matching technology. So hopefully we can bring him on board, and that will replace the character system entirely. I was wondering whether this boolean's set wrong for clients, but it can't be because it's a replicated variable, so it should definitely not be set wrong for clients, which means the client should definitely be running this pin here. So this should definitely be happening on the client. And then yeah, we're definitely setting members in the struct properly. And the logic must be fine because it works for the host. And then we know that this is already server authoritative because it's gone via player controller. So we definitely have permission to update this variable, and then when this variable changes its content, that triggers an update on all clients, which should therefore trigger this function here on the widget. Unless of course it's for some reason picking up the skip refresh, but it shouldn't be because that's definitely not in the action message. Yeah, and we're making a brand new array, so it can't have any sort of lingering array items on there. Okay, so I think what I'll do is if we load up my little test bridge, we can try it using local multiplayer. That one. F and G. Need to make sure I don't save anything above fdeck, otherwise Claire will shout at me. She's doing a great job at the moment, doing all of the labels, all of the props, and making sure basically that every single corridor panel has the right orientation, the right name, and then yeah, then everything's flipped the right way around. Right, so if no, we don't want to build it, we want to set 2 clients, or rather one listen server and 1 client. So if we start that, just wait for it to stop freaking out about being unable to access the SQL. The mission will start from the moon. There will be an orbital shipyard where you'll be setting off from. Come on. Oh, did you? I shall come and have a look. Broke them how? Oh, I see. Yeah, because the because the chairs are pawns in their own rights, then physics objects can shove them around. So what they actually need to do is they need to reset to their starting location on begin play. And then as soon as they've moved off of that location, snap back. Can you still use the keyboard controls to move the ship? What's that out there? Sure, okay. Right. This is finally updated. Okay, so okay, let's do that. Let's do that.
Initiating long-range survey.
Yeah, there's a limit of
Long-range
16
survey
people.
complete.
Right, okay. If I now get this guy. Right, yeah, so I'm not going to be able to test this using local multiplayer because they're seeing a different view of the galaxy. The client obviously isn't loading any of the real world stars. That's one of the limitations of trying to run multiplayer locally, which means I can't can't really debug what's happening with this. Although it didn't set the button to say scanning, and that was on the client. So if we set that back to 1, let's just see whether that still does that a minute. Pick a star, view the detail.
Initiating long-range survey.
Okay. There might be something else afoot. Seems to be doing that bit though. Hang on a minute, what's going on there? Why is it doing that? So if our action message with our data packet includes long-range survey, so that's what we do there. And then for some reason, it's firing that event. Oh, I see, because it's survey begin. Hang on, let's follow that through then. So long range. I don't think that's actually doing anything, you know. I think that might actually be redundant. Oh, I was thinking about watching Red Dwarf last night, actually. I always watch it, probably a few times a year, beginning to end. Sometimes I just kind of get the urge.
Initiating long-range survey.
Hey Jim, all good, thanks. Ooh, good question.
Long-range survey complete.
I don't know. You know, there's so many good episodes. I definitely prefer the first few seasons over the later seasons. I'm not so much of a fan of the sillier ones. I think the one where Rimmer brings himself back as a second hologram, so there's two Rimmers, that's quite a funny one. Queeg is a good one. Yeah, I think definitely. I think season 2 and season 3 had some really, really good episodes. Yeah, the polymorph one was good. I just want to make sure that this is actually the same button that we are updating. I think what might be happening actually, this is overriding what we're doing down here. But yeah, we're definitely updating the correct UI elements. So other than this kind of erroneous node tripping up the multiplayer, I can't see what else would. I'm wondering whether we actually update this on each iteration of the loop, so that we're constantly kind of refreshing the text on there. So if it's being updated elsewhere, that would kind of fix that.
Initiating long-range survey.
Interesting. Yeah, it's firing through. Wow. I wonder whether it's not liking the fact that this is a direct function rather than an interface message. Although that is what we're doing elsewhere. I'll have to have a look into that. I think that's perhaps a red herring as to why it's not working in multiplayer. Just out of interest, did it want us to do a cast? No. So it is already referencing it directly. So running a function directly on that widget should work fine. Okay, well, without being able to run some debugs in multiplayer, I'm not going to be able to really do that one. So let's move on to the next one. Where's our running game? Oh, did it quit? Will it let me in? That's the question. Ooh, yeah. I like the solution of bringing an office chair to the helm. Right, so that still is an issue. Easily fixed by just turning the electrics off and on again. It's always challenging to fix multiplayer issues because you need to be able to kind of prototype and test. So, right, so what we do with the electrical side of things. So that's our that's our voltage flowing into the device, and we start off with -1 just so it's an invalid number, and basically if it's lower than or equal to nothing, then we hide the actor, so that screen's completely turned off. And then we do that when the game initially loads. And then whenever an electrical signal is received by the device, we set our voltage and hide it there. Yeah, so if that returns false, as it is higher than 0, then we unhide the actor. I wonder whether the fact we're not setting this is something to do with it, although it should still be visible. So if that is true, we hide it and we set that as hidden. Yeah. So we're just making sure that the logic is all correct there. Yep. Yep. Yeah, but we set it to a huge number last time we tested this to try and force it to allow more players into the game, but it's still capped at 16. You know, it didn't matter how many we set it to. So it seems to be a back-end cap there somewhere. I still don't know whether it's on Steam's side or our side, but I will track it down. See, the interesting thing here is when the client has loaded, obviously it's getting this replicated value from the server. Now this value should be above 0 because it is on the server. So the question is why is the client seeing this as 0 or less, even though on the server it isn't? And I don't think we have a replication range because there should be no limit to how far this actor replicates. Let's just make sure of that. Replication, net call distance. Is it 0 to make it infinite? I can't remember now. Oh yeah, always relevance. That's, yeah, you'll ignore that anyway. Yeah, so there should never be a circumstance when it doesn't replicate. So what I might do is, so we're triggering that when all the levels are loaded. We should be late enough down the line for it to have everything turned on. I think what I'll do is I'll retest this with that having been set, because it might be that because this see, it does default to true, so it shouldn't be relevant, but then it does replicate. So see, this is the trouble with replication. You don't know at what point it's replicated. So what I could do as a backup measure, what we can do is if we stick a delay on there of maybe let's say 5 seconds, and after 5 seconds it will reattempt this logic. I suppose it doesn't matter if we do that again. Actually, no, we'll cause a hitch. So we'll do a do once on there, so it doesn't repeat that bit. Yeah, so when loading is complete, it will trigger the check to see whether the screen should be on, and after 5 seconds of being in game, it will recheck just to make sure that we didn't run into some kind of replication issue, and it will only do that bit once. Okay. Oops, no, I don't want that. So do we have this as a bug? That's the question. such a helpful title for a bug. Okay, oh, I think this is a slightly different bug. Right, let's change this one again, because this bug has evolved. Right, so if we set this one to QA team resolved. Should be fixed. Wow, let's try typing that entire sentence again. Should now be fixed. So basically, anything we set to resolved gets passed back to Claire and Scotty, and they just double check on the next build to make sure they have actually resolved it. Do we have any other bugs? Oh, I think we had this one before. True. Claire, can you please confirm that you can turn the Holo display on and off as desired? See, I'm not seeing that because of the power. It's going to turn the power off and back on again. So I'm seeing it as off. So you can't turn it on? Are you pressing sensors to turn it on? Because it's working for me. I like that someone just yeeted the chair with a ladder. Now, let's put it on something more obvious. Alright, we're doing a scan. So can you turn the display on and off? I don't think you're pressing the right button. You press sensors to turn it back on. So off, and then press sensors to turn it on. Got it? Interestingly, it does seem to be resetting the zoom. Yeah, if you turn the holo display off and back on again, I think it's resetting the display on the zoom. Yeah, of course you were. Yeah, it definitely is. Wow, this stream delay is awful. Okay. That's definitely an issue. Let's get rid of some of this stuff a minute. Too many tiles as always. Right, so when the holo display receives an update, so that will come from it's going to be a UI update, isn't it? So it's going to come. Where's our replicated button presses? Here they are. So display off basically just sets the mode to off, which means we just basically hide everything. Okay, then we're remaking everything. Why are we doing that? Is there a reason we're doing that? There probably was a reason why I was doing that, but I can't remember what that reason was now. probably to make sure it reflects the most recent state of everything. So to be honest, yeah, actually no. I think the problem there is it wasn't doing a full refresh. So let's try it without. We can do this one ourselves. Shouldn't need multiplayer for this one. Right, so if we just pick a star system, i.e. that one, there's our zoom level. Oh. That's not helpful. Hang on, is that... Oh, yeah. Because this is my test map, obviously everything's not quite set up the same as it is in the game world. Right, close enough. Let's try that again. Right, so there's the system, and if we zoom in a bit to about there, so that's where we're zoomed in at. Turn it off. It's interesting, didn't turn all of it off. Is it because we're at warp? Because if so, that's another bug in its own right. Yeah. Okay. And if we just tap that, it all comes back again. And then display off, display on. Okay, yeah, so we're keeping our zoom level, we're just losing all of the data. Because I suspect it's hidden everything. So if we tell it to do a full refresh instead, that means we should retain everything we had in the location where we had it. So same again, long range, pick a system, that will do. Zoom in a little bit. Right. Okay, so when we unhide it, it should look exactly the same. Which it does. Well, that's that problem fixed. The other issue, though, is that every time the ship is moving, which is, of course, 30 times per second. Get rid of some of this junk for a minute. Too many tabs. Alright, so that would be this one. So we're setting local coordinates. We're running through this, and then we are, yeah, we're updating all of the modes. Right. Okay, so we actually need a check in here that we're not doing. So we need to check whether or not the screen is hidden. So this can just be a straight Boolean check. So if the screen is hidden, don't do anything. Otherwise, go ahead and do the update. And that should fix the issue of the Holo display being unhideable while you're at warp. let's just stick the ship at warp, maximum speed. Actually, we can check our rotation because we don't have all that error message spam. Yeah, that's better. Right, oh, let's give it something more complicated to see. Right, zoom in a bit. Okay, can we turn it off? No. Well, at least it's coming back with the right data. Yeah, and it's coming back immediately. Okay. So what else is causing it to update? Are you causing it to update? No. We are definitely setting that, aren't we? Oh, hang on. That is perhaps the wrong variable to be using, because that's that comes from the electrical system. We don't want to use the same variable across two different systems, because that would be a nightmare waiting to happen. So when we... Right, yeah, because of course we should be checking against the Holo mode, not that Boolean. So yeah, so that's wrong. Yeah, so eventually we will obviously add all the other different bridge stations to this, because they'll also be represented on the Holo display. Right now we're only using the sensors, but the rest of them will be on there. Right, so that should stop that updating. And we may as well stick it in here as well, just to make sure we are doing everything properly. Right, so that's location, rotation. Set this one a little more logically. See, I would thought we were capturing the actual long way. Oh, yeah, that would be this. Yeah, because when we traverse 1 light year within the galaxy, it resorts the list of stars by distance. So of course that's what it's sending through here. Oh, no, that's the single sector one. Yeah, so we should be putting that check in there as well. So we only want it to be updating the sensors if we're actually on the sensors. And the same there as well. It's amazing how complicated this is going to get once we've got all of the different bridge stations, especially engineering. Engineering is going to be massive. You know, we're talking full 3D representation of all ship systems, all flashing different colors depending on their state. It's going to look epic, but it's going to be one hell of a heavy load on the Holo display. But it's good that we've got all these kind of checks in place to make sure that we're routing the display requests properly. Right, so now hopefully it will not turn off whilst we're at warp. Again, let's just grab ourselves something to look at. So, can we turn it off? Yes. Does it come back on after we've travelled 1 light year? That is the next check. I think we're good. Yep, that was a 1 light year boundary. So when we turn it back on, it's where we want it to be. Off, on, off, on. Okay, so yeah, so it should now go off and stay off, regardless of what the ship is doing. So I think we can call that fixed. Okay, so resolved, assigned to the QA team, fixed. Okay, sorry again for blinding everyone. Did I fix that? I thought I'd fixed that. That's a good test, Airx. I'll try that. Right, so display is off. And zoomy zoom. Yeah, we're still good. And which is as I'd expect it to be, because whenever we interact with the UI screen, well, it's really hammering these two. Yeah, whenever we interact with the UI screen, it fires this replicated variable, and that's where we're running our check. So if the holo mode is set to off, then literally nothing should happen at all. So that's, whatever button you press on the sensor's UI, nothing should happen. Similarly, if the captain has the holo mode set to engineering, then the sensor's UI shouldn't cause anything to happen on the display. It should be fully isolated. Forgotten what I was testing now. Oh yeah. Let's take the ship back to Earth a minute. Ooh, didn't like that. Oh, that's handy. We've got some systems of life there, so let's scan one of those. That's interesting. These my mouse clicks on here are very, very laggy. Which is interesting because nothing else is laggy. Apart from the chair. Okay, so those buttons are all right. Kinda. Ah. Just restarting the reactor. Missing. That's all on. you'd think. Seeing anything from the deck distributor. Ah, someone's turned off the aggregators, that's why. Ooh, that's an interesting rubber band then. Yeah, we're definitely doing a technical manual for the ship. It's very much needed. Right, so this is like the danger corridor, which is now fixed. You have to kind of throw yourself through it. Oh, no, too far down. But that should be enough to get everything online at least. Bit of lag there for a minute. Yeah, she's clearly not liking the boxes. Look at the state of this bridge. It's been like a mad frat party or something. Yeah, I'm getting quite a bit of lag. So, if we initiate a survey on there. Yeah, it's difficult to know when you've got so many players online whether or not it's just like lag and packet loss, or whether it's actually a bug. Oh, that's interesting. We had a bug a while back where for some reason it would start forcing players to all face the back of the ship. It was like resetting the alignment of everyone's pawns. I think that's what's happening to me there. Random. Might want to hold your breath. Sort of, yeah. For some reason the ship teleport's not working. There you go, that's better. Do it that way instead. Right, so the bug we were looking at is that on a medium range scan, the live signature is not showing up there. So we've got it showing up with a text signature there, but not there. So if we run a survey on the medium range, whilst we're within the system, see whether that transfers across. Still not getting a text signature on the short range, so that definitely needs looking at. And the strange thing there actually is the UI element that's drawing that is actually the same one that's there. So why that's not picking that up is interesting. Right, so if we do a surface scan, we should see a live signature across the board. So not on there. Do see it there. We do see it there. And interestingly, it's showing it as 0% explored though. So that's not replicating, which it should do. Definitely picking up the fact that it's been scanned to those levels on here, and also on here, so that's okay. But we're not getting it on here. So these are all the little things that just need to be tweaked and fixed. So can we at least see a surface map of that planet? We can. Let's turn off the day-night terminator. Right, does that match what we're looking at the window? Thanks, Ian. Have a good one. Yeah, if you imagine a cutaway of the planet that shows like the core and the magma and everything on the inside, yeah, that's kind of like the goal for it. Yeah, I think we're definitely looking at the same world. That's interesting. The day-night terminator is not turning on and off, which means I guess the clouds don't either. They do on there. Okay, so that means that the image is definitely updating, because otherwise it wouldn't be rendering it on the ball. But it's not updating the display on here, so we need to make sure that that triggers an update for the client. Claire, are you anywhere near the bridge? She'll get the message quicker if I type it in game. So it's replicating for the server, which means my button press as a client is definitely replicating to the server, but then not the other way around. Let's see whether I can see her doing it. Question is she doing it, or did she ignore me? Did she miss my message? Okay, so yeah, so it's only working for the host, not the client. So the update to refresh this image obviously isn't working on the client, so that needs fixing as well. I'll add that to my long list of things that need fixing. Well, that's weird. Oh. Yeah, anything you find kind of floating in corridors or out of place should be fixed on the next build, because we've gone through like corridor by corridor pretty much fixing everything. Well done dragging that up from engineering. I need to add the code back to those that actually gives them proper weight, which means you literally have to drag them upstairs. Yeah, I'm aware of that one, Scotty. That's because the stairs need to be redone. That whole balcony's 50 centimetres off. I'm rather fascinated by the fact that chairs have reset their locations, seemingly on their own. Right then, so yeah, so that is still a bug. So let's go and fix that one then. Yeah. No point trying to restore it because it doesn't do it anyway. Oh, there goes my fans. Right then, so short range sensors, target list. Targets. Planet map can go away. Right, so yeah, so that list view is what we want, and then this is the actual list view widget, and these are the buttons that we need to light up. So basically, so we check our knowledge level, and that's what determines whether the little blobs light up. So that bit seems to be working. Okay, so I'm assuming that we're not setting this properly, because this is how we handle the life and the tech indicators. So I think we're setting this up here. So when we draw this list, no, not that list, this list, we are giving it that data. So if we go and have a look and see where that's actually being drawn from. So so we're clearing the list items, updating some text boxes, do the ordering. Okay, that's where we draw the distance. Right, so this is on the medium range. Why does that say? Oh, have I just renamed it wrong? That would cause some confusion. No, it's on medium range. I think this is a bug because like the text we're searching for is short range targets, and that quite clearly doesn't say short range targets, it says medium range. So I think that's just a bug with the search tool because it's bringing up the medium range ones. Apart from that one, hang on. But that one's showing medium, that one's showing short. Medium, medium. Just to make life confusing, the search doesn't work. Right, so that's basically grabbing the list of widgets, and then we're updating the distance variable. So that's nothing to do with the display data. So that is updating the selected item. But then it's forcing refreshing all of them. So we also need to make sure we set that one. Okay, so it should already have that set from when it's initially spawned. So that would be that one. So we clear it. We grab our list of planets and such. Get rid of some of these unnecessary bits and pieces in there. Check that it's within the display range. Right, so that's telling the list item what object is. Right, then we need to grab the sieve data from that. So we know the knowledge levels are working because the colored blobs are lighting up, but not whether or not it's got sieve data. So that would be why. That wasn't hooked up. should be fixed, but let's just give it a whirl just in case. It was odd that it wasn't working because, as I said, it's a shared widget element, so if it's working in one location it should also work in the other as well. Just wait for the ship to stop before I teleport it. Ship TP. Right, okay, so there we go. So now we are tracking those data points on all three modes. Great, so that was definitely the problem. Why is that over there? Come back. No, stop going to Amazon. I don't want Amazon. Alright, so that one is fixed, so... Resolved. Sent to the QA team. Fixed. Fixed for next build. See you, take care, have a good one. And also see you, Paul. Sorry, I miss people leaving. Too busy concentrating. Right, what else do we have? Oh yeah, the chairs. Let's have a quick look at the chairs a minute. Specifically these ones. Right, okay. So first of all, are these loaded on the client? I'm assuming not. Okay, yeah, so the chairs are not loaded for the client, which means they are server-side only. Which means we need to make sure we store yeah, that. Wait, are we setting that anywhere? Okay, we're setting that on begin play. It's going to do it in the constructor, but begin play works. Okay, so that resets the chair if you get in it. the other thing we'll probably do is let's begin playing on. Okay, so we're doing a check anyway to see whether we've fallen off the ship. Okay, so fall off ship check. Funnily enough, the emergency teleport should actually be sending that to our reset location. Is that a new entry for that? Don't think I'll do any checks on that one. I'll do a brig check just to be on the safe side. Right, so we've got our reset location there. We've got our reset rotation there. I suppose we'll just take the yaw from the reset location and move that there. So if the ship falls off for any reason, sorry, if the chair falls off the ship for any reason, it will pop it back. But the other thing we'll do is, so that's our distance check. If we also do a distance from spawn point check as well. So if we get actor location, so if that's greater than, say, 1 centimeter, that's probably, that might be a little bit aggressive, but we'll see. So we will teleport the chair back. And we won't bother changing the rotation. We won't bother changing where it's pointing for the player, just to yeah, make sure we're just teleporting the distance and not the rotation. So every second we're going to see if it's moved more than a centimetre away from its spawn point, and if so, it'll pop it back. What? Well, that's weird. That's literally an event on here, so why wouldn't it let me run that? So I'm doing player controller on there, which is fair enough. But that is literally this blueprint. Okay, I was just complaining about that one. Fair enough. Right then. So, can I shove that chair out of the way? That's the question. Do I have a prop? There's usually a tablet around here somewhere. No is the answer, so let's make a prop. Props. There we go. Let's give ourselves the broom. That one did seem to be doing the most damage to chairs. Let's give it an ID and a seed. Right then. Can we sweep up a chair? It might actually need someone sat in it, so if I kind of wedge that underneath maybe. Oh, I think it teleported me then. There we go. Oh, and it put me back. I can sweep myself, that's handy. Where'd my broom go? Give me my broom back. Okay, and definitely working. It's putting me straight back where I should be. I think I will what I'll do is I will increase the rate of checking so that you're not like twanged across the bridge quite so far before it puts you back. Where? Let's begin playing. There it is. So if we do that maybe 4 times a second. Yeah, and then we'll increase that to maybe 10 centimeters, just so it's not just reacting too aggressively. Okay. Oh, I'd say that was pretty robust. Yep, that chair's going nowhere. Right. So the other thing, because can we disable physics on that completely? Yeah, because physics is off. So you would, huh. I wonder if it was that. I mean, that shouldn't do anything if physics is off, but... yeah, I guess on some things you do want physics anyway. I imagine this is probably a result of the fact that this is a pawn that we're using. Yeah. So it's not damage impulse, it's just physics interacting with a pawn. But you can nudge a chair around, but you can't move it, so I'm calling it a win. Is it a bug, though? Oh, it's bright. It's literally burning my retinas. Yeah, so it doesn't seem to have been raised as a bug, but it's fixed anyway. Alright, we fixed that one, so that is fine. Hey Crackers, how are you doing? Okay, so a lot of these bugs aren't actually bugs. They're just things that aren't finished yet. So I'm kind of trying to pick the ones that are actually things that should be working now. Oh, that's a weird one. Okay, so go to sensors, scan a star, try to click a planet. Okay. Ah, okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot I haven't got a ship. Okay. The mop of doom can go over there. Right, select a star. Sirius, you'll do. Okay. Go to sensors panel, scan a star, try to click a planet. See, this was an old bug. I think this relates to the demo. It's an old version of the game, and like that's not how it works anymore. But just for the sake of argument, try and click on a planet. Boop. Yeah. All right. That can get gone. Closed. Fixed a long time ago. Q18. Mouse issue, what's that? Okay, yeah, so mouse in the menu with controller plugged in is very much a known issue. Still working on that one. Yeah, I can't do anything about that one. What's this one? Okay, so that's actually the same issue as the other one. Which is the older one. Yeah, that one. So duplicate of that one. Button highlights being fiddly when clicked. Right, is issue. I said it's not fixable because it's not fixable yet. I need to rather than having a physical object which captures the mouse press. And the reason this is a bug is because the yellow highlight that goes over the button for the tutorial is never going to cover it pixel perfect. So either the highlight's going to be slightly smaller than the button, in which case you can click the button and miss the highlight, or the other way round, where you can click the highlight and progress the tutorial but miss the button because there's like a pixel overlap around the edge of the button. It's just a flaw in the approach we're using. So what I need to do is I need to apply a unique ID to every single button in the game so that we can actually capture button presses properly. As you can imagine, that's a reasonably big job. Should be able to fix that one. Okay, so the sound system probably doesn't have attenuation set up. Which it apparently does. Oh wow, so this is probably just having a massive fall off distance. So that's is that 10 meters? Yeah, I think it's 10 meters. So we also want occlusion, volume attenuation, basically huge. Let's try that a sec. Good night, CSI. Have a good one. Right, so noise. Shouldn't be able to hear it on the other side of the wall very clearly. Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear it in there. So I do hear it over there. Steeper fall off now on the sound. Try it with a glass bottle because they're a lot louder. I summon beer. See you in a binary. Have a good one. Okay, so hear it there. Can we hear it behind there? Oh, very, very subtly. Oh no, what do I do with it? Oh well, that's gone forever. Did it save its location? No, good. Yeah, exactly. dulling that sound down quite a bit. Okay, that was a nice easy fix. Yeah, whatever works. Claire, I have a job for you. I'll type this because there's such a long delay on stream, she doesn't hear me for ages. Please go down to the bar and make lots of noise with bottles. Okay, let's see how far. Obviously this is before the fix. So the sound attenuation was set to 30 meters, which, to be honest, from here to there, is probably about 30 meters. So for a start, the sounds that should attenuate as soon as I'm here, which it will do now, and then the sound should drop off completely after about 10 meters. Which might be a bit aggressive, but we'll see how that plays out. I can't grab that ball, it's annoying. Oh, yeah, come on, come on, come on, little ball. Why can't I grab it? Oh, that's interesting. So I can see the apple there, but not there. Now coincidentally, that happens to be where the door trigger is. I think the door trigger is actually blocking interaction traces. Hang on, let's test that theory and move that out of the way. disappears there. Right, so basically in line with the edge of that carpet. Okay. This is going to require a proper one. The galloping is a weird issue. It's because when you're in the no head bob mode, it hides the player mesh, and it can't do the foot IK with the skeletal mesh hidden. That's kind of a little bit of a grey area for me. I'm not great when it comes to characters and character animations, so I shall defer to an expert on that subject. But yeah, I need to have a look at it. It's probably something stupid in the animation blueprint, but as soon as you hide the skeletal mesh, the legs just go and can't seem to do their foot locking properly. Yeah, so as suspected, the door trigger is blocking the interaction traces. Oh right, yeah, the animation is indeed causing the sound. So the footsteps sounds are directly triggered by the animation, but because the animation is running so quickly, it causes, rapid footstep sounds. I don't quite know how to stop the animation from running so quickly when the mesh is hidden. It just seems to be a thing. And this is, again, a side effect of us going with ALS for the character system. And it's a third-party C++ version of ALS as well, rather than the original Blueprint version. So it's kind of like a third-party version of a third-party plugin. So it's all kinds of messed up, and that's why we're replacing it with a completely proprietary system built to spec for the game. Right then, so I'm assuming this is actually a problem on every single door. We just haven't noticed before. Yeah, so under collisions. Oh yeah, look, we're set to block interaction traces. We should be ignoring them. So we should definitely block nothing. And we should overlap. Yeah, only things that are moving, basically. I think we can safely ignore volumes as well. Basically, the only thing that should either trigger the door opening or prevent the door from closing are like character pawns, NPC pawns, or like a physics object which is rolling towards the door. Let's give that a try a minute. That should have fixed the issue. Again, I think this is a bug which isn't raised as a bug, but it's a bug nonetheless. Really must fix those E-deck things. Hang on, just checking. Oh, now that's when we had... remember I was messing about with turning on the plaid mode, and it accidentally unhid the effect which kind of causes the distortion of space when warp's happening. I fixed it, so that shouldn't be the case anymore. When you go to warp, the stars don't get warped about. Oh, I'm on Claire's game. Didn't want that Claire's game. Wanted my own game. Right. Take the mug. Put the mug there. Right, so that should continue to say mug all the way to the door. There we go. Problem solved. Right, let's fix them E-dex things a minute, because that's getting on my nerves. I'll hide some of this other stuff so we're not losing everything. Right. We also need E-deck power, just to make sure we've got the correct cable names. No, that's the wrong one. Takes a while to load that level because it's literally all the batteries and everything. E-deck power, that's what we wanted. Okay, oh yeah, these need putting in the wall as well. May as well do that while I'm here. This is just temporary. There will be a proper solution for accessing and interacting with these breaker boxes. Okay, so the cable we are using actually is irrelevant for this one, so I had to fix all of these on D-deck. I didn't realise I hadn't done them on E-deck either. So if we just pop that into there, grab the cables, pop them in there. Right, so the cable name is that one. Because I'm terrible with naming conventions, on some decks I put utilities, and on other decks I said rooms, and I kind of forgot which way round I was doing it. I think utilities makes more sense than rooms, because it's not just the power to the rooms, it's also the power to things like these wall screens. Why is that one all squished? I'll fix that at a later date. Yeah, So we just need to go through and make sure that these are all using the right cable so that they don't error. And I imagine all of these are all going to be off to one side, annoyingly. But yeah, so we've discussed a few times how we're going to go about accessing these boxes, and I like them being visible because it's a bit of extra corridor screen, and it kind of, you know, gives the ship a bit of life having some screens on it. But we don't want anyone to be able to just come along and start, you know, turning the lights off and stuff, or even worse, you know, turning off the power to all the rooms. So we'll hide them behind probably a glass panel that opens, and then maybe also a code lock. Or we can just lock the screens with the code lock and just have them, you know, visible. Although having to you know, open a little door thing, little glass door to access the screen could be quite cool. Yes, I should have pulled your stuff, Claire. Oh, it would be the same engineering code. So again, if we have 3 codes that can be specified by the game's host in the host controls, again, those are going to be the engineering master code, the security master code, and the command master code. Then the engineering one will of course work on all of these panels and anything else. So in order to change anything like the lighting or the power to the rooms, you would need to enter the engineering master code in order to unlock that screen, which is just, you know, it prevents people from going around turning stuff off unless they have been given the command to do so by the host. Should be the last set. Oh, I can see a mirrored one there. So when I do these panels properly, they will of course have a snapping location, and rather than just having them like hovering in midair like that, we'll have them actually mounted to some kind of backplate, and all the cables will obviously route all the way through. I'm definitely loving the idea of having segmented cables so that they, you know, you have one cable run per segment, so that, you know, if you have an issue on the deck, so say the lighting's out, you know, in a corridor ring, then if the break in the cable was here, if all that cable is one long length, then it takes out all of the lights. But if it's segmented, then a break in the cable there will only affect lights like downstream of that location. So these lights would still be on, but these ones wouldn't be, which is just a little bit more dynamic. Yeah, so some things you would be able to use multiple codes on. Like the command codes will obviously work on absolutely everything. The engineering codes will work on engineering stuff and doors around the ship. So yeah, even though security may have locked down a bulkhead, engineers might still need to be able to open it for some reason. Yeah, you can do instanced actors in Unreal. There's actually a system for it where you basically have, like, where's a cable? There's a cable. So you would have like this piece of cable as a class, which it already is a class. But then you do loads and loads of instances of that class, and it kind of does them all at once, like in terms of the memory footprint. And I'm not quite sure how to set that up because it was introduced, God, 3 years ago now, I think, maybe even 4. It's quite a while ago when they were talking about it, and it seemed like a really good and powerful thing, but I've never really seen it used. So I need to kind of go back and kind of re-educate myself as to what that actually was and how it works. But there is a way of instancing actors, so they only get loaded into memory once, and yet you can have multiple copies with different variable states, which would solve the problem. I think the bigger issue is when you turn that breaker off, for example, that signal that power has now stopped needs to make its way along the cable so all the lights know. Now at the moment, because there's only one cable and all the lights are connected to that one cable, they all go off instantly together, with a bit of a delay. I had a delay there to kind of give it a bit of animation so they don't just all blink off at once. But depending on how quickly we pass that message on, the lights will go off in sequence and they'll come on in sequence, which could look cool in its own right, to be fair. But we just need to make sure that, because we'd have literally thousands of cables, individual unique cables everywhere, we just need to make sure that that's not increasing the CPU overhead massively, because they all do need to do stuff. I mean, I don't think I was ticking them for any reason. I don't think they actually do anything. At least they shouldn't be. No, because the code for the cables is really, really simple. So basically we identify either the upstream device or the downstream device, or another cable if there are multiple cables, and then all of the code for traversing electric back and forth along the cable is all event driven, and we set the voltage and things using rep notify so that it's replicated. And that could be another overhead, because if you've got thousands and thousands of cables all replicating their voltage level, again you're pushing the network traffic up really, really high. So we might not need to do that. It might be the case that we manage this on the server and it's only the end devices which actually replicate things like voltage. Yeah, we'll have to see how that works, because obviously damage to the cable will reduce things. Well, it will certainly increase amperage, and we need to make sure we track that. So the more damaged the cable is, the higher its resistance becomes, and then the more amperage you're having to push through it to get the same voltage going through, the same draw on the lights. But that's practically it. There's a very, very little code to the cables. They're messengers, basically. They're just passing messages back and forth. And as long as they're all doing it individually, one at a time in a daisy chain, it shouldn't be too heavy. But we're just going to have to suck it and see. Ideally, yes, we can segment the cables, but if we can't, if it's too heavy, then we'll just stick with single cable runs and call it a day. Say what? I'll make sure I don't merge. Yeah, that's a point. Actually, I updated those, didn't I? Hang on. Let me just see if there's anything new to pull. I'm pretty sure I did pull everything already. I'll just remove E-deck interior walls for a minute. That's the only thing Claire should have merged with hers. Don't think I've got any other. Yeah, it's the framework walls. Yeah, it should be enough. Ding. Right, so while that's doing that, let's just hop back on Claire's game again. Yeah, so network traffic is absolutely the concern. So we need to profile the amount of traffic we're pushing at the moment. It's not too bad because, again, most things are event driven, so it's not sending or receiving any updates, until an event occurs that triggers it. But if there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff, then those things can happen quite rapidly. Yeah, I hope my fix for stuff not being on when you join works, because that was a right pain. Interesting. Why don't we have anything over yonder? Definitely set to ship location. Let's see whether or not that updates when we change that location. Oh no, sadly the YouTube player doesn't support live streams. Otherwise that would be really cool. Ah, there we go. Yeah, so that was another bug in that it didn't load the other sectors until we moved the ship. There's definitely a couple of on-join issues that we need to iron out there, because we need to make sure that obviously people joining the ship need to get the same view of what's going on as everyone else. It's quite a lot of systems. Is there 2 separate colonies maybe? So the green stars are inhabited systems, and that's just the debug view that shows them. This won't be in the demo, there'll be normal star colours. But I think it's multiple races there because there's a gap between them. What I'll do is, once you've actually met an alien race and you've kind of made successful first contact and you know, shared map data and such with them, I'm going to make it so we have an actual like 3D bubble of their sector of space, so you can see where their worlds are and, you know, how far their territory extends, because that would be quite cool to see on the map. You know, actually, you know, if there's a particular sector of space which is hostile to you, you'll be able to see, you know, what the extent of that is and, you know, steer around it accordingly. Yeah, the YouTube player only works for server hosts. So as a client, if you start a video, it will be playing for Claire, but not for anyone else. Why can't I pick that up? Shove it out of the way instead. Be gone, ladder. Be gone. Let's see whether that has done its thing. Oh yeah, so there was some stuff that I had to pull from Claire. Let's do a bit of scanning while we wait. It's interesting that it went to the long range display there briefly. Oh, I think it's because the ship's travelling at warp, so every time we go 1 light year it's trying to update the map. It's interesting. I wonder if it'll do that when it's not scanning. Oh yeah, it is still doing it. Okay, another bug to fix. That's interesting. I set it to inhabited and... There's some weirdness here because it's coming up with planet name. The teleport button doesn't work in multiplayer if you're the client, but that's fine because that's a debug thing that I've removed now anyway. So that'll be removed in the next dev updates and won't be there on the public demo updates. But after the public update goes out, I'll be putting it back for the dev builds because it's really handy for testing. Oh sure, AJ, yeah. So can you talk me through what the bug actually is, and I'll see if I can recreate it. Oh, I've run out of tea. Oh, okay. Let's right, let's go somewhere then. So we pick something close. So show all. Let's go there. I suppose another thing that's bugged with that is that once you initiate a scan, none of these buttons should work anyway. So that in itself is bugged. Let's see what happens when we arrive. Well, see, that shouldn't say anything there either. Bum ache. Ugh. Okay, we have arrived. I'm interested to see actually whether or not yeah, this is not actually updating stuff in range automatically, so that needs fixing. So obviously it's pulling it up there but not here. Right, okay, so if we scan that one and go to medium range and then do something else like that one. I guess that's not going to work for me because I'm client, so it's not completing the scans anyway. But yeah, so once you're scanning, you shouldn't be able to press these buttons anyway. Oh yeah. I see what you mean though, it did do it. Interesting that it completed both actually. That'll be because obviously this is the object that's targeted, and when the scan completes, it takes the current target and then obviously applies the knowledge level to the current target. So by changing that target, you could probably scan anything anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, because if I initiate a scan there, and we do like, I know, that star system, quick. It's not going quick enough. Let's try that again. Scan, long range, that one, pick a planet. It'll probably work on this one too. Like that up there will probably change. Did I do it quick enough? It's not letting me click quick enough, but I'm sure you could probably scan any planet in the galaxy like that. Yeah, because the immediate updates here with all the data. Yeah, I'm expecting that it should work with the long range, although it's funny that it doesn't. I think it's just not doing it quick enough. I could probably do it if I was running locally. Right, that's all done now, so let's go back up on that one. I don't know. I'd have to check the database. I mean, it should be. As long as it's within 1,000 light years, 2,000 light years, it should be in the game. It might not necessarily be there under the name Betelgeuse, though, because most stars have many, many different designations, and it's whatever one was the default one on Simbad. So we used the Simbad database for populating the real-world star data, and whatever name it's under on there is what it will come up as. Right, so this is with Claire's changes. We've got some mirrored panels and things here, but we should be able to fix those. Oh, that's right. That looked mirrored, but it's not. I'm sure it's only these ones which are flipped. Kind of need to write myself a little blueprint widget which highlights any mesh which has got a negative scale. It'd be really easy to spot them then. Well, oh, actually, you know what I want to do? So, apparently, Claire added a load of post-it notes around CDEC, so let's go and have a quick look. Oh yes, we have post-it notes. So I said, put the labels at jaunty angles like they're real post-it notes, and everyone is completely straight. Nobody puts post-it notes straight. Basically, yeah. When you say deck signs, what do you mean deck signs? Do you mean like these? might have stuck them on a different level maybe. Let me load up the, I got E deck, D deck. I literally just pulled there. Yeah, I got props here that weren't here before, so this definitely is the latest changes. I don't. Did you put some on the post-it level? Oh yeah. See, that's more like it. That's proper post-it note placement. Is that as in that's the 200th time I've redone it? Yeah, they are quite nice with their planters. I was like, why did someone put a table there? But it's not, it's planks of wood. It's quite interesting actually, because obviously I've been like working on this solo for a few years now, and then having Claire coming along and, you know, doing work herself all over the decks means things are there that I didn't put there, and that's really weird. Workbenches. There was a workbench somewhere actually. Oh, there. They're for workbenches. Nah, all good, all good. There are some things which are like, do we really need a saw? But yeah. We definitely need the ladders though, because these are like 8-foot ceilings. So the ladders are a must. Okay, well, we are approaching the 4-hour point, so I think this isn't a bad place to leave it. Yeah, Claire's done a good job here. It's taken her hours to go around every single panel and add every single label, and you know, that's hours and hours of work that I don't have to do, which is really good because it frees me up to do like the actual modeling side of things. And we'll be doing that as much as possible. If there's something that Claire can get in here and do, then yeah, she'll get in here and save me the time, because time always seems to run out very quickly for me at the moment. Hello, lift door. Okay, so we got a few bugs fixed anyway. I think there are a lot of really niggly multiplayer issues, and I think what we'll do is we'll probably spend a good few days doing multiplayer stress testing and making sure that all those are fixed. I'll put out a new build after the stream, and then we can test some of those multiplayer fixes. Hopefully the fixes I implemented just work. I don't have to go back to those ones. But yeah, multiplayer is a nightmare to debug. It really is. You're welcome, Festus. It is always, always a pleasure. Oh, stuck in the floor. But yeah, she's coming along. Definitely getting there. Looking forward to start doing all of the outer areas and really kind of making it look nice. And something I was pointing out to Claire earlier. Actually, if I turn off that one, and that one, I was saying that with CDEC, because basically we have a bunch of labs around a central point, what we should do is we should just turn that on a minute. We should definitely widen the central circle, because all of the labs are hanging off of this central circle. So for every door, for every lab is on this ring. So if we widened this ring a little bit and gave like proper like indented alcoves for each of the different labs, then we can theme those sections in accordance to what lab is there and give them little planters. So like how we have done the B-deck corridors, like how we've got, where's B-deck? Here. So like how we've got this, and we've got like the corridor gets wider, you've got little planters, you've got like an indented doorway, you know, it's themed. I think it'd be really cool if we did the same thing on C-deck. So this relatively plain corridor suddenly actually has some theming to it. So like, you know, if that's the oceanography lab, then we've got like some oceanography theming, a proper label that says oceanography and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Just make it, you know, a lot more purposeful around that central ring, to really kind of embed, you know, what SeaDeck is all about. And because we're going to be having, well, hopefully, lots of little trolleys full of samples and sciencey stuff, you know, trundling around here to all the different labs, it gives it a little bit more width for, you know, getting past people with stuff. Yeah, fish tanks, exactly. Everything's better with fish tanks. But yeah. Oh yes, after the demo update, it's a future plan. So when I actually build the labs themselves, that's when I will widen this ring and give every single lab its own unique frontage with like a proper sign, and, you know, just so that it's visually obvious that, right, that's the geology lab, that's the oceanography lab. Really make it obvious, you know, with some custom theming. A celebration of the subject matter, as it were. Yeah, I'm looking forward to building the oceanography lab and just filling it with fish tanks. I love fish tanks, so that'll be good. Right, okay, I shall be calling it there, and I shall get a build out, and then we can do a quick test of those multiplayer changes, and hopefully it's all working. What day is it? Sunday, isn't it? So have a good week ahead, everyone, and I shall see you all on Wednesday's stream. Bye for now.